Life, culture and current events from a biblical perspective. 2020 with Neil Johnson on Vision.
Our next guest has been described as the most amazing surfer in the world. He is an internationally renowned big wave surfer. His story was captured in the movie Beyond Sight, and it may be one of the most inspiring stories you'll ever hear. He's a walking, talking demonstration of what it takes to walk by faith and not by sight. And what's special about Derek Rabelo is that he was born without sight. For Derek, blindness is not considered a barrier to big wave surfing. Derek Rabelo is in Australia. Hi, Derek. Welcome along to 2020.
Hello. It's awesome to be here with you. Thanks for inviting me to talk a little bit about it.
Hey, Derek, you can't see, but you can surf. What's the biggest wave you have surfed?
Yeah, so I cannot see. I was born with glaucoma, so I had no sight since pretty much birth. And yes, and I surf. I like when I'm surfing, I rely myself obviously first and on my faith in God, which is always bigger and stronger than my fears and my challenge. But when I'm out there surfing, I rely a lot on what I can feel, on what I can hear. I use my hearing a lot.
Usually, when you can't see, no doubt you're needing to be towed into those big waves by jet ski. But let me ask you about your dream to surf pipeline in Hawaii. That dream has come true and you've done that.
Yes. When I just learned how to surf, I really had that huge dream of, going to Hawaii and surfing pipeline. And I was very happy to go there and be able to surf one of the most amazing waves in the world. And for me, was that feeling of accomplishment that I had.
So, Derek, you grew up in Brazil's coastal city of Guarapari, and your father was a mad surfer, and you had two uncles who were professional surfers. Were you following in their footsteps, you think?
Yeah, I think so, because it was in my blood, surfing, and I always loved the ocean, and growing up near that environment just made me really want to discover that area.
Derek, some might be thinking you must be able to see something. Some people are completely without sight. Some people are able to see shadows or lights. How do you describe your vision?
I see nothing, so my sight is completely gone.
So you've never even been able to see one of the big waves that you've surfed?
No. I have been only able to feel them and to hear them.
It was on your 17th birthday that your father gave you a present, a surfboard. Did he take you out on the waves before then, and this was like a coming-of-age gift, giving you a surfboard so that you can pursue this on your own?
So when I was 17, my dad, gave me that surfboard, and then since then I fell really in love with surfing, and I really want to just jump on that path and keep going on that journey and become a surfer.
Derek, I assume you started with small waves, working your way up to the bigger ones.
Yeah, I started taking easy, and it's a step by step. The path of developing is something that you go slowly, and once you feel more comfortable, you go bigger and bigger.
Were people telling you from those earlier days what you're doing is not really possible?
Oh, yes. I have heard that a lot from people, that whatever I was going to do was not possible and I was not going to be happy. But I never let those thoughts and those sayings interfere on on whatever I'm doing.
How much does your father and his wise words, how much do they echo in your memory? Because he's the one who said, you should never see your blindness as a barrier to the ocean.
Exactly. He was always so encouraging to me, and every time I would think that I would not be able to make it or achieve something, I just always remember what he would share and how he would support me and encourage me to achieve whatever looked possible.
So from age 17 and starting with small waves, in 5 years you became a professional surfer. How does that happen?
Well, yeah, it happened so quickly. It was a miracle, and people start to hear about, this guy that was blind and wanted to surf. And so, brands came along wanting to sponsor me. I started to travel around the world for surfing, and I started to do a movie about my journey.
And when you're on those big waves and you can't see the wave, you mentioned you feel the wave. How does that work?
That works using all of the senses that I have, a part of sight, a part of my vision. So, I try to hear really well. I try to feel with my hands and whenever I can. I try to taste it. I try to to mentally understand the environment that I'm at.
Derek, you're a Christian believer. Your faith is a very big part of your life. How do you tell people about your journey of faith as a follower of Jesus?
Yes, my faith is what has kept me firstly alive and also capable to achieve my goals, and also that's what brings happiness to my life. And that's how I find, whenever I find myself in a situation that it's challenging and then looks scary, I just see where I'm at and where I came from and what faith means for me.
One of the dimensions I know you like to talk about is this issue of fear. What's your encouragement to listeners today? They're fearful in all sorts of circumstances, but how you approach a big wave surfing competition and dealing with issues around fear?
Well, fear is something that we cannot take it away from our life because we are human beings. But it's definitely something that we can learn how to control. And we are actually meant to control the fear, not be controlled by it. So whenever I am afraid of something, that just shows me that I'm probably not prepared. I don't feel confident on myself, on things that I have worked out. And that shows me that I need to get out even more of my comfort zone, and whatever I'm doing, I need to do better and be more focused, especially on my faith.
A big wave surfer, you have surfed Pipeline in Hawaii and the waves were up. I've seen the YouTube clips and listeners will be able to watch those on your movie. But when you're there at Pipeline the very first time, is this a point where you're faced with fear?
Yes, it can be one of the points, yes.
And when we talk about living by faith, not by sight, I mentioned you're a walking, talking demonstration of that, a way that you can align the teaching of Jesus, the biblical foundations for truth and what it is to know God and walk according to His purposes. How do you describe living by faith and not by sight?
It's a very simple way to explain how we should live, And when it says sight, it's not only physically sight, We need to live and just be focused on the moment and not worry about things that we cannot control.
Take us back to early days when you decided to put your faith in Christ, because I imagine your family was involved in that, but what's your story?
My family was partly time Christian. My grandma was already Christian, and then after I was born, my mom started to go closer to God. And around when I was maybe 10 or 12 years old, that's when I got closer to God and my dad as well. That's how, I can say that my family was Christian since the beginning, and that helped a bit for me to follow Christ.
To do what you do, surfing big waves, some people will say either you're crazy or foolish. Others will say you must have a tremendous capacity for mind over matter, your perception of the problem. Is it true that if you can't see it, you've got to rely on your own perception of it? You have a little less fear of it?
No, it's not true at all. I believe, if you get the chance to see, you could, avoid many problems and it would make your life way easier.
But when you're approaching those big waves, you're approaching them by faith, aren't you? Not by sight. So are you perceiving something the size of a mountain about to crash in on you?
Oh, yes. It requires a lot of faith, We can't, have to focus on what you can control, and that's something that it's under my control.
Derek, when did you realise that your story is an amazing illustration of what it is to live by faith?
So when I started to speak at corporate churches and events and schools, that's when I started to realize that, I could help people, I could inspire people. That's when I started to realize that I could, be on that area.
People come out in their numbers to hear your story, and you've had the ear of some very big name surfers. And when we dropped the name Kelly Slater, you've even encouraged him to try surfing with a blindfold and feel the wave. What was his response?
Well, he was so talented, and seeing him doing that actually encouraged me to go even way further.
You're in Australia and you've got opportunity to speak around Australia. How have you been received by various groups that you've had opportunity to speak to?
It's always a huge pleasure to be in Australia. I've been coming here in the last decade, pretty much every year, and I also lived here in the past, so I'm really, really well received here. I feel so welcome, and going to schools and events and churches and everywhere I go to speak is always a huge pleasure, a huge honor for me.
No doubt a huge honour too that your story is told in the movie Beyond Sight. Tell us about the experience making the movie.
Oh yeah, doing the documentary was really nice because I got the opportunity to travel, get to know new places, and make really nice friendships, and also, also happy to have the opportunity to share my story with other people.
And Derek, have you had opportunity to test out some of our surf breaks here in Australia? Have you been surfing while you've been here?
Not this time. I've been really, really busy with work, so I was not able to be in the water much, but hopefully this weekend.
Well, you are going to be speaking this weekend. You'll be in Brisbane and speaking at Bridgeman Baptist Community Church on Sunday the 20th of July, 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. services. So Bridgeman Baptist Community Church, for listeners that might be in the southeast Queensland, perhaps northern New South Wales area, easy to get to, Bridgeman Baptist Community Church. You can also see Derek surfing on YouTube. And you might want to keep an eye out for the film Beyond Sight. Derek Rabelo, thank you so much for taking some time to share your thoughts and your heart with us today on 2020.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I hope you have a great week ahead, and hope to see you all at the churches this weekend in Brisbane. Cheers.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.